Welcome everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. And my name is Kelvin, and I'm the Marcom specialist of Golden SCA. I will be your MC of the day, and it is my great honor to have you all together with us this afternoon. Before we kickstart today's webinar, do allow me to brief you about the ground rules by attending this webinar. First, engage with us by using the Q&A panel to send in your questions at any point of this webinar. Second, chat messengers and private messengers might not be able to respond on time, so please use the Q&A panel only. Third, you will be muted during the webinar to ensure our speaker delivers his speech without any interruptions. Besides, for those who wish to have an in-depth discussion with us, please feel free to contact us at sca-marketing-allianceglobal.golden.com after this webinar, and we will respond to your email and assign a consultant to follow up with you further. Lastly, there will be a webinar survey sent to everyone at the end of this session. Kindly help us to complete the webinar survey form and verify your email address, as the webinar certification will be sent to your email mailbox. Today, we are presenting the images of digital transformation and how to stay ahead in the MEP industry, which presented by our speaker, Mr. Chua Rusen, the country product manager of Golden SCA. Before that, do allow me to informally introduce our speaker today with his background. Mr. Chua has been in the building and construction industry in Malaysia since 2020 and currently holds the role of Golden Country Product Manager in Golden SCA. He graduated with a degree in Mechanical Engineering from Taylor University, Malaysia. In his current role, Lucian is leading the team and focusing on the digitalization of MEP QTO work processes and the integration of BIM to enhance the MEP industry throughout the life cycle of construction project. He is a highly passionate individual that shows strong advocate for the transformation of Malaysia construction industry through the adoption of digital BIM solutions and technology. Now, without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Chua. Mr. Chua, over to you.
All right, so thank you for the introduction, Kelvin. So to start off, a very good day to everyone who have joined us today. In today's webinar, I'll be going through these 5 agendas, right? Starting with an introduction video of our TMEC solution, followed by MEP market insights, some core values and highlights in TMEC, a project showcase session, and finally a sharing session from one of our benchmark users. Right, so without further ado, let us take a look at our introduction video.
Driven by global trends, the AEC industry is in a time of digital transformation. A growing number of AEC professionals are using BIM to make work more efficient and effective. This is where QBCOS, the TMEC, comes in. It makes MEP quantity takeoff easier. While the traditional quantity takeoff process for QS is to transform the contents of each drawings into actual quantities. The following shows the possible difficulties of the process. M&D consists of various device quantities. It's easy to lose quantities. Piping are drawn in complex directions, requiring careful segmentation and itemization according to specifications. Drawings often change, and a manual comparison is not able to find the location of changes quickly and accurately. In cross-checking for error, hard to find the relation in between the quantity and the drawings. Have you also encountered such problems? Let's see how TMEC can help to transform your MEP quantity takeoff process. TMEC is a 5D BIM solution for MEP professionals, including developers, main contractors, subcontractors, consultants, and experts. It greatly improves the efficiency of quantity takeoff in MEP through fast identification, accurate modeling, and a flexible quantification. 3 core advantages: easy to learn, intelligent and efficient, and 3D visualization. Easy to learn. MEP quantity takeoff process is consistent against conventional method. It's easier to use. It streamlines the MEP quantity takeoff process for each function and complete calculation in a few steps. Intelligent and efficient. TMEC has built-in standardized calculation rules to ensure the accuracy of project results. With powerful recognition algorithm, TMEC is able to achieve accurate identification of the drawings. It supports batch calculation of pipelines and devices in seconds and separates statistics by their specifications simultaneously. Utilize the intelligent comparison algorithm to compare drawing differences accurately. It's easy to deal with drawing changes by flexibly adjusting the display or hiding of drawings. Uncalculated quantities can be found quickly. TMEC supports high flexibility in generating quantities with variety of output modes, such as podium building, floor, room, and combination. It also supports accurate positioning and clearly traceable. 3D visualization. In contrast with conventional method, all elements can be visualized in 3D modeling effect. Beam technology makes MEP quantity takeoff easier.
All right, welcome back everyone. I hope with the video shown just now, everyone has a better understanding on what TMEC is and how it can help you with your quantity measurement works, right? So next I'll be sharing with you guys some insights on the market trend in the MEP industry today and why change is necessary in order to keep up with the current digitalization era. Right, basically the development trend in the MEP industry includes mainly these 4 points. So economy, intelligence, enhancement, and also 3D visualization. So first of all, let's take a look at the economic trend in the industry. Right, so the first characteristic of the economic development trend is the need for urbanization globally. So at present, the urban construction and development of many developing countries are in the stage of incremental development, right? So leading to facility and infrastructural work upgrade in many rural areas. And in these urbanization projects, there is a need to consider the availability and upgradability of facilities, right? And to address the problems of insufficient public facilities as well. And right now we have reached the development era of M&E installation works. So ultimately, urbanization has magnified the importance of MEP digitalization to reduce waste, minimize pollution, and to optimize profitability and efficiency. Right? And let's take Taiwan, for example. In a span of 5 years from 2013 to 2017, the average MEP cost of the public facility projects in New Bay City, Taiwan province, accounted for about 29% of the total construction cost, which is much higher than the average cost of 15% to 20% in developing countries. Right? And in light of that, we can say there is still a vast room of improvement in the MEP industry, which is why all developing countries are working towards the direction of MEP digitalization. Next, let us talk about the demand for intelligent designs from MEP designers. So the development of MEP digitalization has transformed from the basic requirement of having a simple graphic model and calculation methods to the need for MEP designers to produce intelligent designs. So what does it mean to have an intelligent design? An intelligent design is a design concept that allows the visualization of plumbing, ACMV, electrical, and fire protection services in 3D. Right? In fact, it helps to ensure the successful execution of a construction project, right, by raising the calculation efficiency and allowing clash detection between materials as well. And with that said, having better and intelligent engineering designs is becoming a norm, right? So quantity surveyors or project estimators will have to up their game and enhance their quantity takeoff methods for MEP systems as well. So to enhance the calculation or quantity takeoff efficiency of MEP systems, first of all, we need to have a faster calculation speed to cater for the increasing demand of construction projects, right? So that we don't fall behind or lose out on any potentially profitable projects in the market. And next, we need to have a high accuracy of the quantities calculated as well. So to avoid material wastage and also to adapt to fluctuating material prices, right? So that we can work within our project budget. And finally, the quantities calculated we have generated, it needs to be capable of adapting to real-time site conditions as well, right? Since change is inevitable at site, there are changes as well. And finally, let's talk about the growing demand for 3D visualization in a construction project. So with the continuous development of computer technology, designers and project estimators are no longer confined to the mundane process of MEP quantity calculation manually, right? By adapting to digital MEP solutions, the calculation process is more of a hands-on experience right now. Right? With this, we can visualize project models in 3D and have a more lively process of quantity takeoff. Right? And in fact, with 3D visualization, we can quickly examine the project model and locate any problems virtually and correct them in time at the project site. Right? So now that we have a basic insight on the MEP market, let us take a look at our TMEC solution and what benefits we can derive from its core values. Okay, so for those who aren't familiar with TMEC, it is actually a quantity takeoff software used for M&E works. So basically, it helps to generate your quantities rapidly, cross-check the quantities that you have identified in your drawings, and in overall, it is designed to mainly enhance your quantity takeoff experience. Right, so before moving on to the next slide, let us conduct a simple poll, right, to have a rough idea on the type of participants that have joined with us today, right? Whether it be from the ACMV industry, electrical, fire protection services, plumbing, low voltage, heating, or maybe even all of the above. Right, so everyone, please do give some time to participate so that we can know each other better. Right, so what kind of background everyone is coming from. Right, so give another like 10 seconds for everyone to vote, and we can continue and move on from there. All right, so now that we have finished our voting, so we can see that actually joining with us today, we have the most participants from the fire protection service trade, right? Followed by plumbing, sanitary, and ACMB, and also electrical, right? In our TME software, we have actually a few trades that are available in TMEC, which are the ACMB, electrical works, plumbing and sanitary, and also fire protection services. Right, so in the current software, we're able to cover these 4 trades. And with that said, I'm pleased to introduce some of our benchmark users and clients across different countries and regions who have supported us and helped us to do better. And I would say that the greatest improvement and the greatest innovation tends to involve the cooperation of many different minds, right? So I hope that we can connect with each and every one of you who have joined us today, and let us break through the MEP industry together, right? So let us strive for better efficiency and for better profitability as well. All right, so in terms of TMEC's core values, what is it able to provide? Well, first of all, it is able to support different drawing formats, such as CAD drawings, vector PDF drawings, and also scan PDF drawings. Right, so the idea of how it works, or the essence of it, is that we are able to build up 3D models from multiple 2D drawings, right, while capturing the quantities that we have identified, further costing. In fact, the interface supports quantity tracking as well, right, meaning to say we are able to trace back the quantity in our report back to the 3D model, and allowing a comprehensive understanding of where all the quantities originate from. Right, with that said, let me bring you guys on a journey with us on what TMEC is able to offer. How do we operate it, and why is it necessary to improve our business processes? So to start with, TMEC has a very simple quantity takeoff process. And these are the main steps we need to go through to get our quantity report. Right, first by creating a project, then importing and managing all the drawings in a single location, followed by quantity identification, which is basically how we build up our model. And finally, all we need to do is just generate the report to review it. So in terms of drawings, usually every project will have a stack of them. In that case, how do we deal with multiple drawings? How are we able to process them quickly? Right, so in overall, we can break down drawing management into 4 to 5 simple steps, which are importing the drawing, locating the drawing, right, to synchronize the position of all the drawings, and then scaling the drawing to get the right size, and followed by splitting the drawing, which is an optional step, and lastly, configuring the floor settings. Okay, so to give you guys a clearer picture, let us take a look at our drawing manager next. So while importing drawings, the selected drawing can be previewed directly in the top right window. And in cases where we are having multiple page drawings, such as like PDF drawing, and on top of that, the scaling tool has never been easier. We are able to scale all imported drawings at once, making sure that each drawing is to the right size. And lastly, TMEC supports the use of a single drawing for different floors, right, allowing quick calculation across typical floor levels. So on that note, what about changes of drawings? Traditionally, we have to find out the changes on top of the drawings manually, which is highly time-consuming if the revised area is not specified. So let's take a look at how TMEC can quickly and accurately find out the location of these changes next. So in our addendum function, we can actually insert 2 drawings to be compared, one being the original drawing and the other being the revised drawing. After that, we can then see the location of changes based on the different colors highlighted, which allows us to locate the differences quickly and accurately between both drawings. With this, we can then correct any discrepancies in our quantity model and make adjustments to the model according to the drawing changes. Right, next, let's take a look at some of the core functions and features in TMEC that are able to help us with our quantity takeoff processes. So first of all, let's talk about numerated quantities, which is commonly calculated across all trades, right? Whether be it electrical, ACMB, plumbing, or fire protection. So we have actually quantities in all these trades that are required to be calculated in numbers. So for example, in an electrical drawing, we have lighting fixtures, fan points, socket outlets, which are all calculated in numbers. Same goes for ACMB drawings, whereby there are dampers, air grills, and diffusers as well. And for plumbing and sanitary systems, we'll usually have water closets, showers, and baths, which are all calculated in numbers. And lastly, in a common fire protection system, we need to calculate the numbers of sprinkler points, hose reels, and smoke detectors as well, which is usually a very huge sum. And in this case, project estimators or quantity surveyors, they will actually need to quantify these items manually according to their type. And I would say that it is pretty easy to miscount the quantities if you're still doing it the traditional way. So by doing it manually, we'll still need to differentiate between different legends and symbols and highlight them accordingly on the printed drawing using different colors. Right? And finally, we'll need to transfer all this data into Excel for further categorization. So in TMEC, we actually have this device identification function to help us identify legends in a layout drawing. In this example, we have identified the lighting fixtures in this lighting layout, which will come up to a total of 267 numbers. And next, we have an ACMB layout, where in this case, we shall identify the air grills, for example. And again, we just need to use the device function to identify all the air grills in this layout. So once we click to confirm, it will then scan the entire drawing and come up to a total of 212 numbers. And finally, we have a plumbing drawing. And in this case, we'll still be using the same function, the device identification function. And by using the same function and same steps, we can then identify all the sanitary devices in the layout drawing, right, with just a single function. Right, and in some cases, we might receive multiple drawings to form a whole drawing. And with that said, we'll still need to locate the cable or wiring quantities across all these drawings. Right, also for cross-floor cabling works is commonly calculated when there are multiple floors involved. So these vertical lengths may be difficult to calculate at times and are usually very time consuming. So in this case, let us see how TMEC can improve off some of these processes in the electrical trade. So in TMEC, we have this drawing management function to help us adjust our drawings before doing quantity takeoff. Right, so here we have some tools to help us remove any unneeded lines in the drawing. And with the help of a moving tool, we can actually merge two parts of a drawing together. Right, so by just moving the second part to the first part of the drawing, right, like so. So here we can actually merge both drawings together. And next we have a show or hide layer function to help with simple wiring or cable estimations. Right, so if the cable or wiring routes has been layered appropriately, we can just use these routes and hide the rest of the drawing using the show or hide layer tool. And after that, we can just use the single line identification tool to estimate the length of this entire cable or wiring route. So we can actually view this quantity by just clicking on the view quantities tool, right? And it will show up the length of what we have identified so far, right at the bottom at the software. Right? So once it runs finish, you can see the quantities at the bottom right here. Right, and finally, let us take a look at how cross-floor cabling works is done in TMEC. So first, let's construct a cable trunk that rises from the first floor to the second floor, right, and connect it to a distribution box from there. After that, we can see in 3D, right, we can see in 3D that now we have a cable trunk that connects the distribution boxes across the first and second floor. And after that, we can just proceed to insert the cables or wires inside the trunking, right, by using the cable tray wiring function. Right, so we just need to highlight the routes that's going to pass through, and then you can see that the cables or wires has been inserted accordingly, right, inside these trunkings. So all these quantities will be included in our quantity report, where we'll be generating later on. So besides that, in the plumbing and sanitary trade, cross-floor piping can be tedious or difficult at times, especially if there are many risers used. And also, pipe elevation levels may change frequently as well in the building. Right? And because of the different equipment height, the pipe elevation will need to be adjusted to fit the respective equipment height. So in this case, how can TMEC help? Right? So in this example, let us draw some pipes connecting to different sanitary equipment in this layout drawing. So here we'll be connecting to a wash basin, a shower head, and also a water closet using the same pipe. And we can then view in 3D and see that all these different sanitary equipment has a short vertical pipe connected to it. So all this pipe actually connects to the sanitary equipment using their corresponding height. For example, the default elevation for the sink is 0.8 meters, 2 meters for the shower head, and also a 0.38 meters above ground distance for the water closet. And this applies to all other equipment as well. We can actually adjust their elevation height in their corresponding attributes. Right, so next in ACMV, oftentimes we may find it hard to calculate duct fittings, right? And also it may be very time consuming to calculate ducting work if there are too many sizes used. And at times we may need to consider the insulation area as well if there are any insulation used. And in this case, let us take a look at the functions that we can use to improve this process. Right, well, to calculate air ducts, we have a duct system identify function, which helps us to identify ducting lengths. So all we need to do is just pick on two parallel duct lines and its label. And after confirming its attributes, we can then identify the entire duct length. Then we can use the air duct feeding identification tool to fill in the feedings in between the ductings as well. Right. So as for ducting insulation, let us take a look in 3D and select these two vertical ducts for insulation. So all we need to do is modify its attributes on the left, right, to modify the insulation thickness. And we can then view these insulation quantities by using the view quantity tool on the top tab here. So after that, the insulation area for these two short vertical air ducts will then be displayed on the bottom right here. All right. So next, finally, we have fire protection services as well in the MEP system, right? And in most cases, I would say that the quantity takeoff process for the sprinkler system takes the most time, especially when involving different types of sprinklers. And on top of that, different pipe sizes and also different connection methods can make it extremely time consuming as well, right? Which will lead to possible human errors over time. And in this year, we have released our fire service module in TMEC, which helps us to identify all these different sprinkler types in a drawing. So by using the device function, we can then identify over thousands of sprinklers in just a matter of few clicks. Right? And in this version, we have designed a pipe identification function to calculate all the pipes with different diameters. Right? So all we need to do is just select the pipe and its label, and the software will automatically identify the pipes along with its corresponding dropper and feedings. So as opposed to the conventional way of measuring these quantities, we don't have to deal with measuring all these pipes individually anymore, right? Which is highly time consuming if the project involved has a very large gross floor area. Not to mention all the pipe feedings as well, right? Which we'll need to determine individually across different piping connections, such as threaded screw connections, welder connections, or even coupling connections. So in fact, for certain branched out pipes that isn't labeled, we can use this generate end pipe function to generate the remaining pipe quantities. So with that, we are able to quickly identify all the pipe quantities in our drawing and visualize them in 3D as well. Right, so we can actually visualize in 3D our pipe connections, our pipe feedings, our sprinklers, right, like so. And after identifying all this equipment, we can then tabulate this data in a quantity report table, which can then be exported to Excel for our costing purposes. Right, so our report will look something like that. Right, so speaking of our report, there are many ways to actually classify or present the output quantities, such as by building, by floor levels, by room numbers, or even phases in a project. So in TMEC, we are able to classify quantities according to zones or building blocks. So for a building that consists of different zones, we can quickly generate the quantity and classify them according to these zones. And after that, we can then classify the quantities according to floor levels as well, making it easier to figure out what quantities are needed at each floor. Right? And for custom areas in a drawing, we have developed the define region function, which allows users to measure and generate the quantities according to an area or region that they have specified. So the boundaries that define these regions are highly flexible. So users are able to modify the colors of the regions and name it accordingly. Right, so these regions can be actually adjusted over time by modifying the boundary edges or sizes. In fact, it can even extend to other floor levels as well to capture cross-floor quantities within that specified region. Right, and last of all, we can actually quickly recheck the quantities in the report just by double-clicking on it, right, bringing us to the drawing area where the quantities is located at. So just by double-clicking on our quantity in the BQ, it will bring us back to the location of where it is located at. Right now, I'd like to show you guys some of the projects done by our benchmark users and how it has helped them in their quantity takeoff processes. Right. So before that, let us conduct another simple poll to find out the average time taken for you guys to complete a project. Right. So will it be less than 5 days, between 5 days, or like more than 10 days? Right. So please feel free to vote and let us know how much time you guys spend on average on your projects. Right. So maybe allow like around 30 seconds for everyone to participate. Right, so around 60% of you guys has participated in this poll, right? So I would say that currently you guys will be spending around 5 to 10 days, right, to spend measuring your quantities in your project, right, followed by more than 10 days. So I would say that a lot of time is spent on actually measuring the quantities in a project, right, especially if you are dealing with large-scale projects, right? So with that said, first of all, let's take a look at this project model done by a user working at NGRCS from Singapore, right? And in overall, the time saved from working on this project is around 67%. So as compared to doing it using the conventional method. While working on this data center, I think they managed to complete the quantity takeoff for all the power and lighting equipment, saving around 50% of the manpower resources needed to complete this measurement work. So in this case, I would say that dealing with projects that involve a heavy amount of numbered quantities, we can actually save a lot of time from counting these items one at a time. And in fact, we can minimize human errors as well in this process, which helps us to save a lot of trouble during the reviewing process, right? So next, we have another project model completed by our user working in Lee Brothers Construction in Malaysia. So in this case, we are looking at a rainwater downpipe model for a condominium project. So by identifying all the riser pipes and horizontal pipes in TMEC, they have actually saved around 57% of the time, right, as compared to measuring it manually. And at an accuracy of around 95%, the user managed to capture all the piping quantities, pipe feedings, and floor traps in a very short amount of time. So from this, we can see that the user has fully utilized our plumbing and sanitary trade functions to construct all the piping works. So again, saving time from browsing through different drawing papers and calculating the pipes and pipe feedings manually. Right, so next, for the next project I'd like to share is actually from a user working in Bercamandiri Perkasa from Indonesia. So this user managed to complete a 4-story plaza using the ACMV trade functions. And while working on this project, the user managed to increase their productivity by saving a lot of time from calculating the ducting quantities manually. And with that said, they were able to communicate better as well throughout the pre-construction stage by using the 3D model display. So this helps them to relay important information to all the project stakeholders effectively. So for this project, I would say that the ducting identification function in TMEC played an important role, right, which contributed to this success. So it helps them to identify all the ducting quantities in a short amount of time, which is then neatly presented in the quantity report generated at the end. And last but not least, I'd like to share another project involved in the fire protection system. So for this project, it is actually contributed by another client from Singapore working at KBC Engineering. And according to them, they managed to complete the quantity takeoff works for this polyclinic project, right, in just 2 days. And in addition to the time saved, they had an easy reviewing process as well by using the reverse checking feature. So this allows them to trace back the quantities in their report back to the 3D model itself. Right. So from these 4 projects mentioned, we can observe that the industry is changing, right, slowly but surely towards a fully digitalized ecosystem. Right. And this concludes the projects that I'd like to share with you guys today, but stay tuned for more in the future as well. Right. And speaking about projects done by our clients, we have done a random sampling comparison by picking 20 random projects from our users and comparing the time taken using TMEC against the manual method of quantity takeoff. So what we found is that the work efficiency for quantity takeoff will improve by around 100% on average, right, saving half the time to complete a single project. All right, so before I conclude today's webinar, I'd like to express our gratitude towards our supportive users across all regions. Right, we couldn't have made it this far without the valuable inputs from each and every one of you. All right, so before we end, let us have a look at a short video sharing from one of our pioneer users from Singapore.
At Gloden, we drive the digital transformation of the construction industry with Beam Digital Cost Management Solutions. Across 80 global offices, empowering more than 310,000 global clients with all their Beam construction needs. Our team around the world are empowered with local insights and aim to seamlessly connect our clients' data through our integrated platform, the Cubicost TMEC. Cubicost TMEC Solutions has been adopted by many leading MEP industry leaders. They choose us because they trust us to drive their digital transformation. Cubicost TMEC Solutions aim to improve project accuracy, project quality, and overall productivity. Let's hear what our industry friends would like to share with us.
TMEC solution we started using October 2022, and we find that it's much more easy to use. Okay, for traditional method, because we need to print out drawing, also paper costly, first thing, and also time taking up. And also, the main factor is, I think, is skill. Sometimes we may not get exact skill, so that we are using factors, so the accuracy is not there. And also, time consuming a lot. Okay, for this TMEC solution, first thing, we don't have to print out drawings. We can straight away insert the drawing and we can start to do our work. And this TMEC, there is a lot of new features that we can use, such like, for ACMB tab, they have additional like air grill, damper, panel box and silencers, and the pipe accessories. I find that this one will save out a lot of our time and more efficient. There's one function is insert drawings, because that will help us, like we want to have a lot of drawings, like maybe part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, then we can insert drawing all in one window environment. Okay, I want to add one more feature is the define region. I find it is very useful to us. That time we did have a discussion with the R&D team, and they have listened to us for this function, and finally they have put into this new TMEC solution. This one will help us a lot when we need to size, like doing design and build, which is we don't have any ACMB layout design. We have to base on the room. We need to size up the area, and then we get a capacity so that we can have our aircon design work out. So this is very useful. TMEC help us to improve in PQ taking, more productivity and more efficient and more accurate.
All right, and that concludes insights of what TMEC has to offer. And please do fill up the feedback form as well, right, to let us know what we can do to help.
For marvelous and fruitful sharing. I do think our audience have a better knowledge about TMEC and how TMEC can assist in MEPQTO with the transformation of digitalization. So there are a lot of responses from our audience. So why don't we have a look on the Q&A and then we answer a few questions from there. Is it okay, Lucian?
Yeah, sure.
So we got a few questions here. So first of all, questions asked by Bing Ng. So his fittings like cross, reducer, teeth, and etc. Can we generate them? So what is your answer to this, Lucian?